Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared, and in this video, what you see here is a mountain that's being made low. And hopefully you recognize that verbiage from the scriptures, talking about the last days, the second coming, and mountains being made low, and also melting. And it does seem like that's actually the case here, and I'm about to show you what's going on. This was in Switzerland. And this just recently happened. And I've seen a lot of mountains being made low, whether it's by landslides or other things. But here is a recent example. So I'm going to go over this. We're going to revisit the Tonga Volcano from 2022 because it's having an impact on the climate in an interesting way. There's been some stuff going on in Alaska, specifically with Juneau, the capital city, so I want to cover that. But first, I want to go over this experience that Amy Snyder had with this traveling tabernacle that's going around Utah. Before I get into all of that, I don't have an update right now on the Flood the Earth challenge, but I will have that within the next day or two. It's just, I don't know, it's just been kind of crazy and busy. But I'll get it updated. I just want to remind you, it's really easy to share the Book of Mormon. Go to the Gospel Library app, go to Scriptures, and then when you see the Scriptures here, there should be a button up here to share the Book of Mormon app. So please do that. The Lord has made it really easy for us to share the Book of Mormon. We now no longer necessarily need hard copies, although in some cases it may be better to give a hard copy, but just think about everybody on your contacts list and send it. Okay, try to get to at least 10. And then if you'd like, report it on my channel, either in the comments or send me an email, and I'll update you all the way over here. And it'll add to this grand total. We're at 6,215. So keep it up, everybody, and good job. Okay, Amy. She says, "Hey, Jared, hope you guys are well. I'll keep this short. You absolutely may have covered this already, but this has been on my mind. There is this Tabernacle Experience going on in Utah, a model of the original tabernacle that people can tour. It goes up in one city for a few weeks, then moves to a different city." And Amy, it's interesting that you bring that up because I just talked to my mom yesterday, and they live in Saratoga Springs, and this was recently near them. They just recently went and saw this, and we were talking about it on Facebook Messenger, like when we were doing a video call. All right, Amy continues. So the question is, could it be possible for something like this to be set up on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem that Christ would come to? I don't see why not. A temporary temple until they are permitted to freely build one meant to be there during the millennium. Just a thought. Now, no, I had not thought about something like this, like the tabernacle. So there obviously is precedent for it, right? That's all that they had from the time of the Exodus all the way until Solomon built the first temple. So yeah, that's a possibility. I do have a couple other ideas. Now, what's interesting is that the Temple Institute in Jerusalem, you guys already know them. I've talked about them a number of times, but if you're new, maybe you don't. This is a group that has actually put together all the vessels of the temple and the clothing for the priest to wear and the high priest. In fact, if you go to their website, they have this gallery, and they've gone through all the research and the study to put everything together the way that it's supposed to, in a kosher way. Down to the vestments of the high priest, including the 12 stones. And they researched what those gemstones should be because they're not explicitly said in the Bible. But there's everything. Everything is here. Even the Ark of the Covenant. It would seem that they did that too. But every single thing they have made in preparation for the temple. including the altar. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because you might be like, well, yeah, that's great, but it's because they're planning on doing this for when the temple is constructed. The temple will be constructed, and then they'll bring all these vessels and everything into the temple. Well, not necessarily. Now, I've touched on this before on the channel, but look at this. So this is back in 2015. New details emerge on rebuilt altar of Jewish Holy Temple. And here it is, this altar that looks like bricks. Okay. And this was actually like the first version. Okay. But look what they say here. Let me zoom in. As Breaking Israel News reported earlier this month, that must have been what Israel 365 used to be called. Because in these older articles, it's like, I think it was Breaking Israel News. Okay, as Breaking Israel News reported earlier this month, the Temple Mount Institute in Jerusalem has completed the construction of the stone altar required for the sacrificial service in the Holy Temple. In response to several inaccuracies in both the Hebrew and English media due to lack of information, the organization released its first detailed statement about the exciting event. The altar was completed in 2014 and officially inaugurated during the Institute's public kindling ceremony for the Golden Menorah on the 7th night of the Hanukkah holiday, which fell on December 22nd. Oh, and just so you know, let's look it up. So they have the menorah as well, but they have that on display by this synagogue right here. It's called Herva Synagogue. And so it's in this like, kind of like this plaza where you can see the menorah set up, which is pretty cool. And it's in this protective, probably bulletproof glass case. So anyway, going back here. Okay, so as far as I know, this was the first altar that they created. Okay, the 1.0 version. And this guy right here seems to be like the main guy. I can't remember his name. And I think that whenever they start services, if that happens before the second coming, he would be the one that would be the high priest. I looked it up one time. I can't be sure right now. But anyway, one thing that makes this altar unique is that it is designed to be disassembled and quickly reassembled in its correct position on the Temple Mount. According to the Temple Institute, quote, the people of Israel are required to build an altar exclusively on the site of the original altar on Mount Moriah, the Temple Mount. When circumstances become favorable, this new altar can be quickly reassembled on the proper location, enabling the divine service to be resumed without delay. So, along the theme of the idea that Amy had, it could be that they would do a tabernacle, perhaps, but I think that maybe, without even thinking about it, maybe this would suffice as far as a prophecy of the prophecy of having the temple built. You know, maybe not. Maybe it needs to be completely built, or maybe this would suffice. Who the heck knows? I don't know. But in any case, they have this already. Now, like I said, this is just the first version, and it's not maybe my favorite. Let's take a look really quick at BYU's Virtual New Testament. I'll put the link for this in the description below. You can download this on your tablet or on your PC. But this is roughly, obviously, what the altar would have looked like at the time of the Second Temple, or at the time of Christ. So let's go over here. You can see a ramp, right? So it's pretty big. It's pretty big. You can come up here. It's a little gruesome, but anyway, this is the temple, you know, just so you can get an idea of how big that would be. Now, there's another article about it here back in 2015. They talk a little bit more about it. I'll put that in the description below. Now, moving forward 3 years, there's this article, photo spread, dedication of altar for Third Temple. And you can see that they've changed it. They've now constructed a new altar. So it's no longer this pretty rough looking one that looks like it's just made out of bricks and tiles. Now there's this one. And there's some better pictures of it down here. Here you can see it on the right, but there's an even better picture right here. So this is like, as far as I can tell, the second version that the Temple Institute created. And there's that same guy, Rabbi Baruch Kahan, who educates the Kohanim, which means priests, and served as the high priest. Oh, yeah. Oh, he served as the high priest for this reenactment. And I think it's because he's actually, according to them, going to be the high priest. So let me read out of this just a little bit. On Monday, so again, this is in 2018. And another thing to point out, 2018. Let's pretend that this theory is right. Let's pretend that all that the Lord requires is for them to have the instruments ready. And that this altar is ready. And it can be disassembled and quickly reassembled on the Temple Mount or whatever. Well, if that's the case, if that theory is true, this second version, and I think it's still the same now, this happened in 2018. It was President Nelson's first year as president of the church. There are so many things that coincide with his first year as president of the church. I might as well do like a separate spreadsheet to track everything that happened in that year. Well, I guess I have my Second Coming timeline. But anyway, I don't have everything on there. Okay, so on Monday, the Sanhedrin hosted the dedication of the altar for the Third Temple, marking the event with a full dress reenactment of the Korban Tamidi, or Eternal Offering. The altar was made of aerated concrete and constructed on a metal frame specifically designed to be loaded on a flatbed truck. Though not ideal, it is entirely kosher for use in the temple service. Special vessels have also been prepared to be ready at a moment's notice should the need arise to jumpstart the temple service. The menorah in the photos below is constructed of wood. Though not ideal, it is kosher for use in the temple and can be carried. It can be carried by one person. The laver is also kosher, though it is significantly different than the Sea of Solomon, which the Sea of Solomon looks like our baptismal fonts for doing baptisms for the dead. The one that with the 12 oxen. So anyway, the laver is also kosher, though it is significantly different than the Sea of Solomon that was used in the temple to wash the hands and feet of the priests. Holds one theory. So that's kind of interesting, but I don't know if something changed since 2018. I don't know how recent this menorah is, but I think that now this would actually be the official one that they would use in the temple. That's my current understanding. Okay, so here, you have a bunch of pictures. You have the priests that are being taught and trained, and here's some here's some little priests in training. They'll be big enough one day. And yeah, so this looks more like a proper altar, and as far as I know, that's what they currently have. Okay. Notice the priestly clothes, what you wear in the temple, right? This is what they wear in the temple. They're priests. This would be like the incense altar, lighting the incense on the golden altar. So I'm sure that this is kosher as well to use in the temple, according to Jewish law. Trumpets. All right, so there you go. Let's see. Here's another one, but this obviously is not, this looks like this is like cardboard. So I think this is just for presentation purposes, not an actual altar. The altar is currently in the form of loose stone blocks ready to be transported to the Temple Mount and stored in a manner that will enable them to be transported and assembled at a moment's notice. So this is now a different article. When complete, the altar will be a square 9 feet on each side and 5 feet tall, and includes a ramp for the priest to ascend. The decision to prepare the blocks and all the details for their composition is the result of a long study performed by the members of the Sanhedrin in conjunction with the Temple Institute. The stones are made of aerated concrete and are fit for use in the temple. There are plans underway to prepare a new set made of actual stones, which are considered the ideal material from which to build the altar. And I don't know that that has happened yet. It's been a couple years. Again, this is at the end of 2018, but I haven't heard any news about that. Let's see, I think that's all from this one. Here's yet another one. This one is also from the end of 2019. Miracle of Ingathering at dedication of altar for third temple. And it just has that picture and has a few other things, but nothing I'm going to share in this video. So I had never really thought about what Amy said in conjunction with how they have everything ready for the temple, including the altar. So maybe it could happen that way. Maybe what we're seeing right here is the temple, just without the building itself. You know, I'm not going to pretend to like say how it has to be. I do have a lot of quotes about the third temple, and we've already gone over that. But who knows? Maybe this is what it'll actually look like. Maybe it is ready to go right now, and nobody knows that this fulfills prophecy. So anyway, yeah, because you could say it's constructed. At least everything except for the building itself, everything else is constructed. It's constructed. Here it is. It's right here. You're looking at it, potentially. Can't say that for sure. But here it is. So anyway, thank you, Amy, for bringing that up. That is a really interesting idea. I'm open to all sorts of possibilities. All sorts of possibilities. So we'll just have to wait and see what actually happens, like I always say. Okay, moving on. So we have an email from Rachel Snyder. She says, this is really interesting. There is so much media spin right now on this being a hot summer for a purpose. Emergency climate powers would enable a lot of politicians to have a lot of power. The podcast talks about this, and she includes a link for a podcast. I haven't listened to that yet, but the volcano in 2022, referring to the Tonga Volcano, which, by the way, is the largest explosion that mankind has recorded on Earth. There could have been some a long time ago. Certainly there probably was. But with modern instruments on Earth, so not counting space, on Earth, the largest explosion ever was the Tonga volcano of 2022. Bigger than the largest nuclear bomb. It's the largest explosion we've ever seen. So the volcano in 2022 is supposed to cause hotter temperatures for 2 to 10 years. It is a previously unheard of result from a volcano. So emergency fossil fuel restrictions are probably not going to solve nature's problem. I don't know. I know you don't get political, but the volcano itself is definitely notable. Yeah, and I tend to disagree that climate change is human cause. I do think that temperatures are heating. I know that some of you don't believe that, but I do. But I don't think that it's human caused. So I'm just going to look quickly at the article that she left. This is from NPR. Tonga's volcano sent tons of water into the stratosphere that could warm the Earth. And here's a picture of that explosion. And it does indeed look like a nuclear bomb. More powerful than any nuclear bomb we've ever set off. Okay. Oh yeah, look at this. One day after an intense eruption by the Hunga Tonga Hunga Hapai volcano, an astronaut on the International Space Station took this photograph of the gargantuan plume, and you can see all the smoke there. I was sure that I had highlights on here. Let me refresh this. No? Okay, that's great. The January 15th eruption came from a volcano that's more than 12 miles wide in a caldera sitting roughly 500 feet below sea level. So it was an underwater volcano. All right. Huge amount of water will likely raise temperatures. Earlier large volcanic eruptions have affected climate, but they usually cool temperatures because they send light scattering aerosols into the stratosphere, right? Because the light gets all reflected away from the Earth. It's the light and heat and energy from the sun that heats the Earth. Okay, those aerosols act as a sort of massive layer of sunscreen, but since water vapor traps heat, okay, water vapor, and that's what this volcano did. It shot up a lot of water into the atmosphere. But since water vapor traps heat, the Tongan eruption could temporarily raise temperatures a bit, the researcher said. It normally takes around 2 to 3 years for sulfate aerosols from volcanoes to fall out of the stratosphere. But the water from the January 15th eruption could take 5 to 10 years to fully dissipate. So normally 2 to 3 years with other volcanoes, but with this particular volcano, more like 5 to 10 years to fully dissipate. Given the time frame of the extraordinary amount of water involved, Hunga Tonga Hunga Hapai, quote, may be the first volcanic eruption observed to impact climate not through surface cooling caused by volcanic sulfate aerosols, but rather through surface warming, end quote, the researchers said in their paper. So this is indeed a rare event, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's part of the second coming, part of changing the earth, changing the climate, other things that we may not know about. We may not know the full extent of what happened with this. But the volcano interrupted the heartbeat of water in the stratosphere. So it goes on and talks about how it changed things, essentially. So that is something very interesting to think about. It seems like a lot of things right now are adding to the heat of the earth. You know, whether it's this volcano, whether it's El Nino, and other things. But things are getting warm, and I think that we should watch. We should watch and see what happens. But I think something is going on with Earth, personally. Okay, this next email is from Shelia Wheeler. She says, widespread river... Oh, by the way, thank you, Rachel Snyder, for your email, and Amy. All right, and thank you, Shelia. Shelia Wheeler. Widespread river flooding sweeps away at least 2 structures. Alaska's capital city declares emergency. So, have another capital city to add to my spreadsheet. We'll look at that in just a little bit. This is from K-Talk TV, ABC 11. Widespread river flooding sweeps away at least 2 structures. Okay, we already read that in the email. Juneau, Alaska. The city and borough of Juneau issued a declaration of emergency on Sunday following a glacial lake outburst flooding event that swelled waters to record levels. At least 2 structures were swept up into rushing waters, and other structures were evacuated on Saturday after the flooding event filled Mendenhall Lake and Mendenhall River to dangerously high levels. There's a video that you can watch showing at least one of them being swept away. But how high did it get? Okay, according to the National Weather Service, river waters reached a record high of 14.97 feet on Saturday night, much higher than the previous high water mark of 11.99 feet from 11.99 feet from 2016. So that almost a full 3 feet higher. That's a pretty significant amount. Incidents of this type of flooding in Juneau are a regular summer occurrence since 2011, but have never caused so much damage. Meteorologist Andrew Park with the National Weather Service in Juneau said they forecasted the flooding event to be smaller, around 12 feet. So more like what it was back in 2016. But no, it was not like that. And it's unclear at the moment why the flooding went above that. Okay, that's all that I have for that. And so I added it to my tracker, my capital cities tracker. Here, I should have put this in yellow because it's new. So my most recent entry is this, okay? So what I'm tracking right now is that for August, we have that really crazy flooding in Beijing, China, and now this flooding that's going on in Juneau, Alaska. And as I was thinking about Juneau, Alaska, I was like, did I check them for Canadian wildfire smoke? Because I have this whole list of U.S. states, Canadian provinces and territories, and their capital cities that were covered by the smoke. And by the way, I made a mistake in the last one. I said 14 provinces and territories. It's only 13, so I apologize. I counted it wrong. When I was looking at the list, I counted it wrong. But as it turns out, Juneau, Alaska, I hadn't checked for that before. Juneau, Alaska was covered by the Canadian wildfire smoke. So I added this here. So this was back, the story that I am basing this on was dated the 14th of July. And here it is right here. Juneau Empire. Thin haze of Canadian wildfire smoke reported in Juneau. Now, I didn't follow up to see if it got worse or whatever. It's just sufficient to say that the smoke covered Juneau. And the thing that I'm thinking about is how wildfire smoke, it'll turn the moon to blood and darken the sun, sometimes completely, as was the case in New York City. And so I think that it's significant. And so now what's the grand total for U.S. states, U.S. state capitals that have had this happen to them this year? Well, the total is now, we've gone from 37 last time to now 38. 38 of the 50 U.S. state capitals have been covered by the Canadian wildfire smoke. I'm taking it as a sign. And then for Canada, 11 of 13. And then 4 national capitals: Ottawa, Washington, D.C., Lisbon, Portugal, and Madrid, Spain. This was a really big event, and it continues to be a big event. The wildfire season is not over. It's going to go until October, so we don't even know the full extent of it right now. In fact, why don't we just take a quick look? I wasn't planning on doing this. Let's see, weather maps, zoom Earth. Let's see what the smoke looks like today. Worse than last time. Last time there wasn't really too much crossing over into the U.S., but you can see this hazy, smoky color. That's the smoke. It's really bad up here in Canada, as you would expect. But yeah, it's coming down, and it looks like, holy cow, it might even be in Kansas. Look at this. You see that smoky what the heck? Let's see. Kansas, Canadian wildfire smoke. Is there anything about that right now? News? No, not right now. Huh. Well, anyway, I could be wrong, but it does look like all this haze right here is all attached together and goes... It looks like it goes all the way down to Louisiana and Texas and Mississippi, and I don't know. I'll have to see if I can find anything out about that. So anyway, so there you go. Yeah, it's actually 38 of the 50 U.S. capitals that have experienced this, and 11 of the Canadian capitals and 4 national capitals. Okay, now to finish this off, let's talk about the last thing. This is from Deborah Lukes. She says, this one is interesting. Same old claims that it is man. It is the fulfillment of prophecy to me. For me too, Deborah. So I pulled this up. This is on like, MSN's news thing, but ultimately this is from Business Insider. Okay. Mountains are collapsing. Mountains are collapsing. Before I get into the story, let's look at why this could potentially be significant. Let's go to Isaiah 2, verse 17. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. All right, so this isn't talking about mountains or hills, but I think that this is a key to understand why this is happening. It all just like goes together. It's literally going to happen. Mountains being made low, in the hills exalted. That's literally going to happen from everything that I've studied. It will be literal, but at the same time, it seems like it represents and it's a metaphor of men in pride and wickedness, right? So it's like it goes together. So that was Isaiah 2:17. Now let's look at D&C 104, verses 14 through 17. I, the Lord, stretched out the heavens and built the earth. My very handiwork, and all things therein are mine. And it is my purpose to provide for my saints, for all things are mine. But it must needs be done in mine own way. And behold, this is the way that I, the Lord, have decreed to provide for my saints, that the poor shall be exalted, in that the rich are made low. For the earth is full, and there is enough and to spare. Yea, I prepared all things, and have given unto the children of men to be agents unto themselves. So again, in this context, this is a section that's talking about the law of consecration, the United Order. I think that's, let's see. Yeah. Saints who transgress against the United Order. So that's essentially the law of consecration. Okay, so Isaiah and D&C talking about pride, haughtiness, but at the same time, and this goes along with pride and haughtiness. Well, never mind. Just making things more equal in the Lord's way. Okay, D&C 49, verse 10. In that which I have promised I have so fulfilled, and the nations of the earth shall bow to it, and if not of themselves, they shall come down, for that which is now exalted of itself shall be made low of power. So power, riches, pride, haughtiness, all those things made low. Okay. And then later in this section, verse 23, it says, wherefore be not deceived, but continue in steadfastness, looking forth for the heavens to be shaken, and the earth to tremble, and to reel to and fro as a drunken man, and for the valleys to be exalted, and for the mountains to be made low. The mountains to be made low, and for the rough places to become smooth, and all this when the angel shall sound his trump. Right? Mountains literally being made low. Let's go to the footnote for that. It takes us to Micah 1:4. And the mountains shall be molten under him, and the valleys shall be cleft as wax before the fire, and as the waters that are poured down a steep place. This is all very interesting verbiage when we look at this story that we're about to look at. But really quick, let's just read a couple more things. When you go to, is this the topical guide? No, index to the triple combination. If you go to melt, it brings this up. So like 2 Peter 3:10, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Some people take that to mean that the entire earth is going to become like lava, which I don't hold that position myself. I do believe that the temples at the very least are going to be spared, possibly damaged, just like in the Book of Mormon, but I'm sure that they're going to survive into the millennium with a lot of other infrastructure. My best guess is that the wicked are basically going to be like burn. Like I don't think there's going to be like a big sweeping fire that goes across the entire globe. I tend to think, based on the studies that we've done on this channel, the scriptures that we found, the quotes from prophets and apostles, that it's going to be the glory of the Lord that consumes them. So in other words, like you could be standing right next to someone that is counted among the wicked, and then when the Lord comes with his glory, it'll consume them, like them, and you're just going to stand there untouched, but they would be consumed next to you. I know that's not a pleasant picture, but so when it's talking about the elements, yeah, I don't know, maybe it will be really widespread, maybe it will, or maybe it's just referring to how things are going crazy, like the Tonga Ha'apai volcano and other volcanoes, other increased volcanic and geologic activity, right? I don't know. I can't say for sure. But anyway, there's that. D&C 101:25. And also that of element shall melt with fervent heat, and all things shall become new, that my knowledge and glory may dwell upon the earth. This is interesting. 133 verse 41. And it shall be answered upon their heads, for the presence of the Lord shall be as the melting fire that burneth, and as the fire which causeth the waters to boil. It's interesting to think, especially when we just talked about recently how hot the Atlantic is this year, especially off the coast of Florida, where it got to, I think it was like 101 degrees, 101.2 or something like that. They haven't, as far as I know, they haven't confirmed that yet. But either way, it's like hot tub temperature water, which is really crazy. It's not boiling, but yeah, it's getting there. And then the last one I want to read, this is from Joseph Smith translation, 2 Peter verse 3. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall shake, and the earth also shall tremble, and the mountains shall melt and pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall be filled with fervent heat. The earth also shall be filled, and the corruptible works which are therein shall be burnt up. If then all these things shall be destroyed, what manner of persons ought ye to be in holy conduct and godliness, looking unto the preparing for the day of the coming of the Lord, wherein the corruptible things of the heavens, being on fire, shall be dissolved, and the mountains shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, if we shall endure and shall be kept according to his promise, and we look for a new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Okay, so with that in mind, let's read this story. Mountains are collapsing. A Swiss mountain peak fell apart, sending 3.5 million cubic feet of rock into the valley below. Scientists warn climate change could make more mountains crumble. And here it is right here. I don't know what the before picture was. Let's see. Mount Folkthorn. Let's see if we can possibly find a picture of that. Let's go to Wikipedia. Refresh. Okay. So let's see if we're looking at the same thing. Let's bring this over here. Yep, it looks like it's the same thing. You can see like this peak right here. And then this like more rounded peak to the right. So you have like the more jaggedy one to the left that looks kind of like Idaho with like the top cut off, the panhandle. You see that? It's like Idaho. And then right next to it. And then you come over here and there's that kind of like Idaho shaped peak. And then the one next to it that was rounded off at the top. So this is what it looked like before. And it seems like this whole thing right here has collapsed. Look at that. Looks like a cracked tooth. Okay, Mount Folkthorn's tallest peak of the Swiss-Austrian border collapsed in June. Experts say peaks in Europe Alps and southern Alps of New Zealand are at risk of collapse too. Okay, why? Okay, on June 11th, the main peak of Mount Folkthorn of the border of Austria and Switzerland collapsed without warning, which that really sucks if you were hiking up there. Roughly 3.5 million cubic feet of earth tumbled down, filling the valley below with 40 Olympic swimming pools worth of rocks, mud, and dirt, Live Science reported. While no people got hurt, a religious cross marking the summit was destroyed. Overall, Mount Folkthorn is 60 feet shorter than it was earlier this year. Dang. 60 feet. Let's see. 60 feet to meters. What is that? So 18.28 meters shorter for my international viewers. Okay. Why did the peak collapse? Well, like many mountains in the far north, Folkthorn had a lot of permafrost, a permanent layer of ice and dirt under the mountain's surface. Okay, do you see where this is going? So basically you had ice holding it together. Okay, quote, permafrost is important because frozen water within the ground holds the ground surface together and prevents it from moving. But when the ice melts, and I'm not going to say for sure that this is like fulfilling the prophecy of mountains melting, but melting did cause this mountain to lose some of its height, to be made low. But when that ice melts, the liquid water can flow away. The ground surface becomes less stable and can move often very quickly, said Jasper Knight, a geoscientist at the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. When a big chunk of mountain moves quickly, like the mudslide of Folkthorn, that's called a mass movement. Quote, global warming is causing the permafrost to melt, which is the trigger for these mass movement events to take place, Knight said. So it makes me wonder about other places outside of, Europe and New Zealand. Are there places in the Andes that are like this? Are there places in the Himalayas that are like this? Are there places in the Rocky Mountains? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe. Is there? I don't know. Do you have any mountain peaks near you that are being held together by permafrost? I don't know. See, I think there was something else. Okay, at the end here it says, as climate change accelerates, mountain environments change more quickly as well. Knight predicts mass movements will become more common in the next decade. So more mountains are probably going to become or be made low soon. But the situation isn't hopeless. Scientists believe if we work now to slow down climate change and prevent mountain degradation, we can stop the worst outcomes from happening and help protect the planet's mountains and the communities that live near them. I don't know. I'm not sure that I share such a cheery appraisal of the situation. But I guess we'll, I don't know. See what happens. Mountains being made low because of melting of permafrost. I don't know. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.